I still remember the exact moment my mother's voice cracked over the phone. "I'm sorry, sweetheart, but your sister doesn't want you there. And honestly, your father and I agree. It's her special day. We don't want any tension." I was standing in the middle of my apartment kitchen, still in my work blazer, holding a glass of water that suddenly felt too heavy. The words hit me like ice water down my spine. Not invited. To my own sister's wedding. My name is Alina, and for 28 years I had been the reliable one. The daughter who got the scholarships, who worked 2 jobs through college, who helped pay my parents' mortgage when Dad lost his job in 2019. I was the one who drove my little sister Sophia to every dance practice, helped her with her homework, and cheered the loudest when she got into that fancy private university I could never afford. And now, I wasn't invited to her wedding. At first I thought it was a cruel joke. I even laughed, a broken, hollow sound that echoed in my empty apartment. But my mother's silence told me everything. She wasn't joking. "Why?" I whispered, my voice barely holding together. She sighed, like I was the difficult one. "You know why, Alina, you've always had this attitude lately. The way you talk about money, the way you question everything we do for Sophia. She feels you're jealous. And honestly, we can't have that energy on her big day." Jealous. The word burned. Because while I was quietly paying off my parents' credit card debt in secret, Sophia was posting pictures from 5-star resorts and luxury shopping trips funded by Mom and Dad. While I drove a 6-year-old Honda, she was gifted a brand new white Range Rover for her 24th birthday. But I never complained. I smiled. I supported. I loved her. Until that phone call shattered everything. I thought I knew about my family. I sat on the cold tile floor that night, still in my heels, and cried until my chest hurt. I cried for the little girl who used to braid Sophia's hair. I cried for the woman who had spent years shrinking herself so her family could shine brighter. And most of all, I cried because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about a wedding. This was the moment I finally saw the truth. I was never the daughter. I was the backup plan. The safety net. The one they could use when convenient, and discard when I became inconvenient. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. Wedding pictures flooded social media. Sophia in her custom designer gown. My parents beaming with pride. Cousins and aunts I had grown up with, all dressed up, smiling in photos tagged #FamilyForever. Not a single person reached out to ask why I wasn't there. It was like I had been erased. I threw myself into work. I'm a financial consultant. The irony isn't lost on me. I spent my days helping wealthy clients protect their assets, while my own family treated me like I was worthless. Nights were the hardest. I would lie awake, replaying every sacrifice I had made. The times I skipped vacations so I could send money home. The promotion I turned down because it would have meant moving away and abandoning them. Then came the texts, first from my mother. "Alina, we raised you better than this. You should be happy for your sister instead of making everything about you." From my father, "You're breaking your mother's heart. Call her." Not once did they apologize. Not once did they acknowledge my pain. 3 months after the wedding, my phone rang again. This time, it was my father, and his voice was shaking. "Alina, we need to talk. It's important." I almost hung up. But something in his tone, a desperation I had never heard before, made me listen. The wedding. It cost more than we expected. A lot more. The venue wanted an extra payment. The caterer doubled the bill last minute, and we still have the honeymoon to pay for. Sophia is devastated. We're short $38,000. I sat there in silence, staring at the wall. $30,000-$8,000. The same amount I had just deposited into my savings after closing a major client. The same amount I had planned to use as a down payment on a small house. My first real step toward a future they had never helped me build. "We were hoping you could help us out," my father continued, his voice turning soft, almost pleading. "You've always been good with money. You're our responsible girl. Family helps family, right? I felt something inside me shift. For the first time in months, I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. Cold, sharp, crystal clear clarity. I told him I needed to think about it and hung up. That night, I didn't cry. Instead, I opened my laptop and started digging. Bank statements they had once asked me to help organize. Old Venmo transfers. Credit card records. Slowly, the full picture emerged. They hadn't just overspent on the wedding. They had been living beyond their means for years, funding Sophia's lifestyle, while quietly draining the emergency fund I had helped them build. They had taken a second mortgage on the house I helped pay for. They were drowning, and now they wanted my life raft. The old Alina would have wired the money immediately. She would have told herself that family is family, that love means sacrifice. But that Alina died the day they told me I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. Instead, I invited them to dinner. All of them, my parents and Sophia with her new husband. I cooked their favorite meals. I smiled. I listened as they laughed and talked about the wedding like it was the greatest day of their lives. Then, over dessert, I placed a folder on the table. Inside were printed records. Every transfer, every time they had asked for help over the last 6 years, every luxury expense for Sophia while I ate instant noodles to save money. The second mortgage, the growing debt, and at the bottom, a legal letter from my lawyer. I've transferred the house into my name, I said calmly, my voice steady for the first time in months. The one I helped pay off. The one you used as collateral for Sophia's lifestyle. You have 30 days to vacate or I'll begin foreclosure proceedings. The silence was deafening. My mother's face went pale. Sophia started crying real tears this time. My father looked at me like he didn't recognize me. How could you do this to us? My mother whispered. I looked at each of them slowly. How could you do it to me? I told them I would forgive the $38,000 they wanted. But the house, the only thing of real value they had, now belonged to the daughter they threw away. Sophia tried to guilt me. You're supposed to be my big sister. I smiled sadly. I was, until you all decided I wasn't family anymore. In the end, they had no choice. They sold the house to me at a price that barely covered their debts. I moved in 6 months later. I kept one photo on the mantle, the last family picture we took before the wedding. I look at it sometimes and feel a pang of sadness for the girl I used to be. The one who loved too hard and trusted too icily. But mostly, I feel peace. Because I finally understood the hardest lesson of my life. Family isn't who you're born to. Family is who chooses you when it's inconvenient. Who stands by you when you're no longer useful. Who sees your worth even when you have nothing left to give. I chose myself that day, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't ashamed of it. If you're watching this and you've been the reliable one in your family, the one who gives and gives until there's nothing left, I want you to hear me. Your love is not an ATM. Your presence is not optional. Your worth is not measured by how much you can sacrifice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop saving people who would never save you. My name is Alina, and this is how I got my life back.